Good evening, everybody. Good evening indeed, and welcome to Absolute Sim Racing, and welcome to another racing night here on the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup of the United States. We're back in good old Blighty here at Silverstone, the legendary British circuit, the home of British motorsport. And we have another wonderful American and British duo in the commentary box. Myself, Chaz Draycott, and I'm delighted to be joined once again by Austin Belkey. We've had one hell of a season, Austin, but it's starting to come to a close just now, isn't it?
Yeah, we certainly have. You know, as the races wind down, the number of races we have left also wind down, and that means the points available on tap also are winding down. So you really have to go out there and give it all you've got for the last couple rounds here.
You really do indeed. Right now, the drivers are just about finishing their warm-up session. We're just going to get the guys all lined up on the grid in a few minutes' time. But talk to me about this circuit here, Austin, because while it's one of the most challenging circuits in the UK, it's actually one of the very flattest. There's not really much in the way of sort of up and down bits here, as we call them.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a challenging racetrack because the corners are all sorts of different angles. You look at the last chicane before you come onto the start-finish stretch, and you know that's very fast and flowing. But then you look at some of the other corners like Maggots and Beckett's, and those things you all kind of got to trail break into that, and then kind of just meander your way through them. So there's a lot of variation in this, like you said.
Yeah, there certainly is. It's not an easy place to get around, especially at some of the speed that we're going to be seeing from most of these guys out there tonight. Currently, we have Michael Yanni top of the pile in the Pro class. Then we have John Botifer here in 4th position for Alpinestars Geodesic Racing. We then have Jos Garfias for Mexico E-Racing at the top of the Pro-Ams. He's been very impressive this season. Eric Kulaga fastest in the AMS with Errol Uriksoy in 2nd place there. We've had some brilliant battles though throughout this season at the top of these individual classes, haven't we? Not obviously forgetting the pros at the very top of the pile. They've been incredible.
Yeah, they certainly have. And just the battle they've had between them for every single round, I think maybe bar one for the entire race, obviously, at Road Atlanta. It was kind of one-horse race there at the end because, you know, Dino had his trouble coming onto pit road when he was hit by a driver from another class. And I think Elvis also had an accident too. So you look at that, but, I mean, what a great battle we've had, not only just the pros, but the Pro-Am and the Am categories have also had great battles all the way through the entire season.
They certainly have, and it's been very, very enjoyable to watch as well. We have a car exiting stage left there. I think that was Drew Neubauer. No, he's gone off separately, though, through Maggots and Beckett's. Jonathan Ouellette is a character that's had a bit of a tough season. You know, some of these guys at the front have just... Oh, well, there's the highlight of it. Some of the guys ahead have just had that extra little 5% here and there where they've needed it, and he's just not been able to stick with them. But he's one of those drivers that's always scoring consistent points, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you look at that, and one thing I want to bring up too, you know, you look at all the different drivers and, you know, the kind of speed they can pull out of the car, that extra 5% like you mentioned. These cars are so hard to extract the full 100% from it. It's easy to get, maybe, unlike other cars, I'd say these are easy to get up to 80%. Most cars, you can easily get them up to about 85 or 90, but these things are so challenging. Just to get them past 80 towards 90, 95, 100, it takes, you know, an innate sense of raw ability from these guys that's just hard to come by.
It certainly is. It's not easy to get right at all. Now, I'm just looking at the championship standings right now between these guys. So in the pro category, Elvis Rankin is currently leading the championship. He is only 12 points clear of Dino Filippa. Now, Dino's got a drop score of 80 points out of that as well. So it's pretty impressive that Dino is right there with him, despite having that massive drop score. Shows how well it went for him early on in the season. Michael Yanni is 3rd on 671 points, so he's only 14 points off Dino as well, so it's incredibly close there. In the Pro-Ams, it's this man, Jos Garfias, tied with Daniel Tenorio for the top of the pile, which is absolutely incredible after many, many rounds. And then third place and 4th place are also tied as well. Jeremy Littleton and John D. Cooper on 646 points. That's just ridiculous. And then there's only 5 points between the top two guys in the AM class. Logan Vida, currently the AM class leader, 5 points ahead of Errol Uriksoy. And then Eric Kulaga is only another 21 points back from them. So in terms of the championship standings right now, I'd say probably anyone in the top 6 of any of the classes could win it. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I'd say so too. Definitely, for sure. Anyone within the top 6. The way these guys are allowed to score points is pretty incredible too. You look at, there's about 1 point per position for everyone finishes. So if you're separated by a single point, that's 1 position you have to make up on track. So it's very easy for these guys to do rules to figure out, how many positions ahead of them do I need to finish, and the fact that there is only a 6-point deficit throughout this entire length of a season. You know how far we are into this at this point. We've had so many races, and to only be separated by about 6 positions for every single race that we have, and that's just not the endurance races. That's the sprint races and the endurance races too. Some weeks we have 2 races in a single night, so it's pretty incredible.
And I like the way that the point system's done as well. If you win one of the longer races, which we usually have about an hour and 15 minutes of, you get 100 points. But over the nights where we have 2 races, one shorter and then one longer, you get 40 points for winning the shorter race and then 60 points for winning the longer race, which of course adds up to 100. So the race meetings, each you get 100 points, but it's how you balance that. And to be honest, most of the wins this season going the way of Dino Filippo, who took the first 2 wins of the season. Then it was Elvis Rankin, Dino, Elvis, Michael Yanni, and then Dino, and then Elvis got 2. And then we had a win for John Botifer last time out. And then just most recently, it's Michael Yanni. So Dino and Elvis haven't won for 1 race meeting, 2 races in total. So they're going to be hoping to change that again tonight. Michael Yanni is currently fastest, though, at the top of the pile, I should say. But it's been certainly an interesting season where the pros are standing. But Jos Garfias right now, though, tied with Daniel Tenorio for the Pro-Am class. Absolutely incredible. You love to see it. Really, really close. However, Jos has, I think he has more wins to his name this season, so that's why he's going to be starting from the back of the pack in the Pro-Ams.
Yeah, that's right. It's basically just the decider. If there is a tie in the points, who has the most wins basically gets the tiebreaker. So right now, Jos would have that, but if Dan can get some more wins to equal him, then it'll go to another tiebreaker. But for right now, it's going to be tough to beat Jos's win count.
It really is. And looking at Andrew Hewson as well, by the way, he's got a good 3 wins to his name in his class this season, but unfortunately not up there in the championship fight. Here is your grid then. Harry Wills on pole position alongside Justin Rame, with Jonathan Ouellette and John Botifer on row 2. Then it's Michael Yanni and Dino Filippo, with Elvis Rankin rounding out the pros. Following them is Dean Timms and Andrew Rasmussen at the front of the Pro-Ams. Then it's Stephen Martinez and John Cooper. Behind them is Jeremy Littleton and Daniel Tenorio, with the aforementioned Jos Garfias just behind. Jason Bridges leads the AMs ahead of Drew Neubauer. Then it's Joseph Smith and Daniel Florea on row 2. Michael Kulaga and Gary Brown are on row 3 ahead of Casey Metzger and Eric Kulaga. At the back row of the grid we have Errol Uriksøy and Logan Vida. Only 5 points between them in the championship, as mentioned. Very, very close indeed all the way up and down. Fantastic way of sorting out our grid, and we have a very wonderful looking grid just about to get rolling now. Austin, who's your money on?
I feel like right now I'm going to go with maybe a driver. I think, hidden gem here. I think Owlett's going to come out with a victory here today. He's starting up pretty high. I feel like he's my sleeper pick. Overall, though, I think I got to go with Yanni overall.
I like that. I like the idea of that. I think Dino Filippo needs a bit of vengeance here, to be fair, over these Apex boys who've been taking a number of wins recently. So I think the Argentine driver will put something on the board here. But I agree, though, Jonathan Ouellette, he needs a win, and he deserves one. He's certainly been working hard this season. Can Harry Wills hold on? He's had a bit of a rough time of it lately in this championship. He's going to be hoping for a good solid run of points. Of course, the pro's going to get underway first, and then we'll look back and see exactly what our AMs get up to. But around the final corner, round 9 of the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup of the United States is under today. Wait, there we go. Harry waits and waits and waits to launch it off the line. Justin Rame tries to stay in second place. Jonathan Ouellette goes through, bit of contact. Jonathan slightly out of shape. Manages to collect it though. Elvis Rankin getting ahead of Michael Yanni. Dino Filippo looking down the inside. Jonathan's gone late on the brakes. Is he going to collect anyone? How he didn't collect anyone, I don't know. Steven Martinez has gone off the road. He's gone into the pits in the Pro-Ams, but they're already through actually, Austin. They've absolutely flown through there.
Yeah, Dean Timms didn't actually take the grid, so the lead went over to Andrew Rasmussen, so he was able to start the field for the Pro-Am category. So onto a flying start. You can see uncontested right now, but look at Drew Neubauer doing a fantastic job right now leading his Am category into turns 1 and 2 here. See him sweeping through turns 3 and 4 as we see John Owlett go for a little bit of another spin. He's just having a rough time today.
Yeah, indeed. I think there was contact actually between himself and John Botifer, who lost quite a bit of time as well to the other pros out of just the first couple of corners. The Ams are all fighting together here. Drew Neubauer is going to be hoping for a bit of a better week this time, because last time out at Watkins Glen in the Race Anywhere World Series in the GT3 cars, he had a bit of an off coming into the boot section of the circuit and then rejoined right in front of our leader and unfortunately took him completely out of contention. And do you want to know who that is? Jonathan Ouellette. So both of them.
It's interesting that you say that too, that Drew had another bad race, because last time we were out at Monza, he had a pretty hard going of it too. Often in times, if he didn't cause an accident by himself, that was his own misfortune. Sometimes he'd be caught in someone else's misfortune and just couldn't avoid a wreck. We saw that happen to him a couple times. He got blindsided, if you remember too, going in through the Parabolica.
Yeah, very true. He's certainly had a bad couple of race meetings. Not always his fault, so he's going to hopefully. Oh, well, we had to say it, didn't we?
I think there was contact there.
Yeah, definitely. He got hit from behind there. I think there might have been more contact between some of the guys as well, as they all try and make their way through Maggots Beckett's, but he got smacked in the backside there, did Drew Neubauer. That's a real shame, because we were literally just saying we hope his fortunes change, but you never know. We'll have to see what this comeback drive will be like now. It's a 1 hour and 15 minute long race. So plenty of time to get it done. Harry Wills still leads the pro category. Then it's Justin Ray.
Andrew Rasmussen went for a spin on the front stretch, made hard impact on the inside wall.
And straight to the pits he goes. Let's have a look how this happened.
Probably day done for him.
Does he clip the curb? No. Oh, he's just lost it.
Yeah. Just lost it over the curb on the outside there. And these cars are so on the edge of grip the entire time. Very unfortunate for Andrew there. But we'll rejoin the head of the pro field here with Harry Wills still out front, doing a great job right now.
Yeah, it's pretty devastating when it makes that sort of secondary contact with the back corner that really throws the car sideways, properly bends the suspension. And these cars, I mean, like you say, they're on the edge anyway. If you've got broken suspension, they're over that edge pretty much all the time. Someone who's over the edge of the rest of the Pro-Ams at the moment is this guy, Jeremy Littleton, having a fantastic run in the opening lap or so here in the GHJC Aerosports car, the Gulf branded machine. Certainly got a bit of daylight between himself and second place, which is Jos Garfias and Daniel Tenorio just behind him. Those two fighting for the championship lead at the moment. Daniel Florea leading the AM category in the number 20 car. Twisted Racing white for him. We also have Casey Metzger chasing him down, and then Joseph Smith leading two of the Team Premac cars. Logan Vida in there with him. He, of course, top of the pile when it comes to the AMs. Errol Eriksson just behind him is second place in the championship as well. There's been a change up at the front. Elvis Rankin and Justin Rame have both got past Harry Wills.
Yeah, Harry was doing a fantastic job defending, but, at that point, the kind of skill level these guys have, being actual legitimate pros, not just in the pro category, at some point it's not a matter of if, but when they're going to get through just, the raw pace and speed these guys have, and they're automatically able to come in here with a great setup just with how much they understand how these cars work inside and outside. They do a fantastic job.
Yeah, they're very, very impressive throughout these races. The way that they just pick their way through the traffic is certainly interesting to watch as Elvis Rankin looks down the inside of Justin Rame. Justin can't quite defend it at this point. He's keeping Elvis.
At that point, too, there's the crossover coming on, and he kind of knows if he can at least hold it on the outside, he'll be on the inside for this next corner. Of course, gives him the advantage when they head down this short chute of a straightaway into this long left-hander right now. And, he did do a great job, it looked like, of defending, but he's still holding the position right now over Elvis, and him being an Apex Racing driver, that's something to be proud of.
Definitely, and of course, Apex Racing team as well, winning the top split of the Daytona 24 hours over the weekend. An incredible effort by the guys, not just there, but of course at their facility as well here in the UK. It was a very, very intriguing battle all the way through with the Coanda guys as well. And I think we all know that it takes a lot to beat Coanda at Daytona. I think it's the first time anyone's beaten them on merit in a few years, actually, at Daytona. So hats off to Apex, certainly showing them who's boss. But right now, we're just looking at Steven Martinez, who of course started this race from the pit lane. He went in when the basically rolling start was going on. He just turned in, and now he's starting to make his way back up. John Cooper, the next car ahead. We've had an issue for Gary Brown, I'm afraid, here, Austin. We'll have to have a look back at this one.
Oh yeah, it looks like he just over-rotates the car coming out of that left-hander there. So easy to do. We saw the exact same thing in the opposite direction happen to Andrew Rasmussen. Luckily, though, for Gare, there's no wall to hit there, just kind of some gravel traps, so he was able to kind of get himself back going from that. But we look now at the battle for the overall lead in the pro category and, of course, the race itself.
Yeah, indeed, and it is this man, Justin Rame, leading the way. Elvis Rankin, Harry Wilson, Michael Yanni just behind them. Dino Filippo about quarter of a second behind him. These guys are then nearly 4 seconds ahead of John Botifer, so they've started to clear off a little bit, but this top 5 train, pretty much how we've seen it for most of the season, isn't it?
Dino absolutely just dove into that first corner, cut way back up to the rear end of, I want to say that was Michael Yanni right there. Almost took him out. Of course, that kind of hurt his exit right there, but these guys are all going at each other. Every one of these drivers wants to pass the guy in front of them, and every single guy doesn't want to be passed. And, of course, it sounds so easy to say that in racing. Of course, that's what these guys do, but you look at the body language of these cars.
Yeah, indeed. Justin chucking it over to the left-hand side just to say, look, I'm going to the inside line. If you want to go around me.
And look at Harry Wills. He's even going to try to attack Elvis Rankin right here, even go around the outside, try to hang it there, get that momentum off the corner. But, of course, that's going to allow Yanni to get to his inside. Looked like they made a little bit of contact there. Yeah,
I think Harry just squeezed him to the apex a bit there. He made sure that Michael didn't come down the inside, but he didn't quite leave a car's width. And that's left Yanni now completely vulnerable to Dino Filippo, but it'll touch on the way into Cops. I think Dino's going to let him stay in front there. That's good sportsmanship. You've got to love that from Dino. He did tap the back of him, but he doesn't want to take the place like that. He wants to do it cleanly and fairly. That's great to see.
Yeah, you really do like to see the sportsmanship like that, especially when these drivers have had the kind of history they have where it's just a fierce battle for sometimes only 20 minutes, sometimes it's a 45-minute race, sometimes, like we say here, 1 hour and 15 minutes. These guys do it week in and week out so consistently.
They certainly do, mate. They certainly do, and that was nice stuff. Jason Bridges has had some not-so-nice stuff, unfortunately. Round the final corner, are we going to see the same again? Yeah, it's that sort of corner where you're hard on the throttle. Ooh, he keeps it out the wall, though. Fair play.
Oh, that was a good save there.
Certainly was. But when you're hard on the throttle through a right-hander like that, you're trying to tuck it in. Any tiny adjustment you can make on the steering will throw that around. Now, that gap on the left-hand side is not true, I'm afraid. That's just because we've switched cars. Garfias is only about 3/10 ahead of Daniel Tenorio here, and these guys are fighting for the Pro-Am Championship lead with one race meeting to go. 677 points apiece here between these guys. And if I very quickly scan through, we've had... Chaz is doing some horrendous mental maths right now. I think 7 of the... Oh, God, how many? 7 of the 11 races that we've had so far have been won in class by these guys. So they've done an amazing job this season. That's why they're right at the top.
Well, let's look at the battle for the overall lead. Things are getting pretty sketchy right here. 3 wide down the straightaway going into this corner.
Yeah, indeed. Harry needs to be careful there because he's got Michael Yanni to his inside. He's got Elvis Rankin to his front. And Elvis has now managed to get down the inside of Justin Rame. Can he get that tucked in? Still 2x2. The sky suddenly turns on here in iRacing. Thank you, boys. Dino Filippo right at the back of this as well. I bet he's got a fantastic view. Let's have a look at this from onboard Dino. Oh, my goodness me. Going down towards Cops. That's a scary sight.
This is sketchy. I expect a large lift from him to kind of make sure he doesn't get into the back of anyone checking up and go 2 wide through this corner. 1 wide, you go through here incredibly fast. 2 wide, very sketchy. Would not recommend it. But most importantly, for our leader now, Elvis Rankin, he is out front.
He is indeed. Finally gets the move done on Justin Rame. Look at this. Michael Yanni being very careful here. He knows how hard Harry Wills is defending. He's having to work hard for this one. Is Michael. Harry's doing a great job at holding him off for now. Now, of course, the slipstream comes into effect. They're all weaving one way then the other. Don't do it, boys. You're just scrubbing off speed. Michael Yanni goes to the right-hand side of Harry Wills. He's going to go for 3rd place. And Dino Filippo wants to go with him.
Sends them in here too.
Oh.
Looks like he's going to go for it. Look at him just hugging that white line there. Taking all the curb he can. Absolutely brilliant job through there. Not quite close enough to Michael right there. Oh, contact between the two. They doored each other.
Yeah, Michael.
Look at Harry. He goes to the inside.
Oh, Dino didn't expect it to be
Oh.
3 wide, and Yanni's in the wall hard. That's massive, massive stuff. That affects the championship as well. Dino's off the road as well. He gets back on, but
Yeah,
to be fair,
Michael hit the tires, so it wasn't too hard of an impact, but of course it's damaged his front fascia, also damaged his rear wing. We'll get another view at this right here, Chaz.
yeah, Michael and Harry both went in a little bit deep. Dino had this wonderful switch back to the inside, was nice and late on the brakes. A little bit too late on the brakes, though. A little bit of contact as he ran wide. Michael then kept to the inside line. Harry Will's got a wonderful cutback, but I don't think Dino expected him to be 3 wide, so he turns in where he normally would if you were 2 wide, and that throws Michael off the road into the wall. Joseph Smith, I'm afraid, has just had an issue as well, which we'll go back and look at.
Oh yeah, just an over rotation trying to get the car turned for that corner right there, and just kind of locked up the rear end, got that thing sliding. Very easy to do with these cars, not a whole lot of downforce. And I think what we saw right there was maybe Michael giving a little bit too much room to Harry on his inside, and I don't think Dino knew that he was doing that, or even if they were 3 wide, he might have known they were 3 wide because he didn't steer in too aggressively. But there certainly was still about maybe a half a car width, or maybe 3/4 of a car width between Michael and Harry. So I think that was just Michael being a little bit too nice, not pinching hard enough. And of course, he's running for a championship. It's kind of time right now you start to make smarter moves instead of too aggressive moves. And I think Dino just kind of went in like, well, this is exactly, the 3rd lane off the apex, so I'll just go here. And unfortunately, there was contact.
Yeah, that's it. They were just playing it safe, thinking championship points, but unfortunately, sometimes there is the odd miscommunication like that. And Michael's paid the price. I mean, that car isn't looking too factory new.
Now, we'll see how down on speed he is fighting with these guys. Of course, all the leaders did start in front of our Pro-Am category, but they do also have a bit of a pace advantage, too, so we'll have to see if he can, if he stays between these 2 cars, if he says, you know what, I'll just get out of the way and try to let you guys fight it out, ride behind you for a little bit, or if he tries to put a move on Garfias right there. He is going to dive into the pits. I have to imagine this is him. Will be his first time going past the start-finish line since he got his damage release past the pit entry point. So maybe he's getting some damage repair. He might have a meatball as well.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, he does have a meatball. Yeah, looking at the results tab, he does have a meatball, so he is going to have to go get that damage repaired.
Man.
We'll see how long it takes him out of contention for. Of course, right now there aren't a whole lot of spots to lose. Only 1 left. That's Jonathan Owlett. So we'll see if he can hold on to that 1 position for, of course, 1 more point. But looks like a bad day for him right now.
Jonathan's literally just gone through, as you were saying that as well. So Michael dropping down now. He's going to go behind the AM drivers who we're looking at right now. Casey Metzger in 2nd place, chasing down his teammate Daniel Floreo. The car in front is actually Twisted Racing White. Casey is in Twisted Racing Red. So the 2 of them, while they are in the same liveries, they are racing technically in this championship for different teams. Now, a driver that's also having a bad day is Drew Neubauer. Again, I'm afraid he's had another problem here. Maybe just a bit too much rotation into Brooklands. Oh, he's just gone in a way too hard. He's going to adjust the car around, and yep, just slides. It's such a painful thing to have happen in these cars, isn't it? Because it takes forever to rotate.
Yeah, it does. It's one of those lazy spins, and of course, just like any lazy person, they move incredibly slow, and it just takes you forever to get the car finally to rotate the rest of the way around. So, interestingly enough, though, we saw Dino Filippo lose a lot of time, a handful, in fact, after he spun out Michael there, so we'll see if he can make up any ground. I don't think his car has too much damage, if any. It's just beyond the right front fender. I don't think he has much, if any, though, so we'll see if he can kind of catch the 2 drivers ahead of him. I think on pace, he certainly has a 2nd place run in him, but we'll have to see if he has enough time to make that up. And, of course, the damage he's done to his tires, having to ride behind all these guys and all that dirty air and just having to scrub off speed when he doesn't necessarily need to because he's following people.
Yeah, I think to be honest, some of the time he lost, obviously he ran wide because of the incident, but I think part of him wanted to slow down for Michael, but when he realised that the damage was probably going to be quite extensive, there's nothing you can do at that point. You may as well just carry on and get on with the job at hand. But we saw some great sportsmanship from Dino before, obviously slowing down when he did tap the back of Michael Yanni, so it's certainly not in his intentions to be hitting other cars like that. It's just close racing. Sometimes you think, well, we're too wide, I'm on the outside, I need to go this far around the corner, but yeah, I think he just didn't realise that they were 3 wide there, and that's that, I'm afraid. it's one of those horrible moments where you do turn in and it flicks the other car the complete opposite way. It's so painful because you can't really get out of it, because then you're being dragged to the outside as well, and you're being thrown off the road with them, especially if their car snaps the other way. It's just going to spin around, hit you off in a different direction. It's just a big pinball effect when stuff like that happens. So it was a tough one for Felipe, but I don't really place any blame on him. The guys were just fighting very hard, and it was a really frantic situation.
Yeah, I mean, you never want to be too wide on this racetrack. Of course, the fastest way around here is be, one wide, but going 3 wide, just not a great opportunity or an idea for any kind of speed to be made. So right now you see, just how much he's caught up to the two drivers ahead of him, because they went side by side through Maggots and Beckett's. A little bit of contact there. It looks like he is going to get the pace advantage coming off the corner for sure down the straightaway here to at least pass Harry Wills and try to get that draft off of Bodeford just ahead. Looks like he is going to clear him, so we'll see if he can try catch John in a couple laps.
Yeah, just about clears him there, doesn't he? Down the hanger straight in towards Stowe.
Dino's got a little bit of damage on his right rear fascia, or at least quarter panel. I think he might have made a little bit of contact when he was spinning Michael. Not too bad. I don't think it should affect him much, but obviously just something to keep in mind. Might have a little bit less rear downforce on that machine.
I think that was when he ran wide into the club chicane down the inside of Yanni, because the two of them did door bang, didn't they? So maybe the rear quarter panel's just slightly touched. If he's locked up a little bit, just spat the rear end out slightly, just sort of giving a bit of a love tap to Mikey. Now, Errol Uriksoy here is 4th in the AM category in this race so far, and when it comes to the championship, he is right behind the man right in front of him, Logan Vida, who is currently 3rd on the road in this class. So there's plenty to fight for these boys, but their current class leader, Daniel Florea, and Casey Metzger right behind him. Those two doing a really good job at driving away from everybody as things stand. It's close in the Pro-Ams as well. This is Jos Garfias and Daniel Tenorio chasing him down. Daniel is not going anywhere at all. He's certainly making sure that he keeps him in visual range. Andrew Rasmussen has had a problem, I'm afraid. He's spun around. He's already a lap down at this point, but he's just had a bit of a problem. Let's have a look here, buddy.
Yeah, he just kind of over-rotated down the front stretch, got into the wall, so right now that's why he's a lap behind, kind of came into the pits, got that damage repaired, and you can see, just going into, I believe that's Brooklands, you mentioned Chaz, and he just over-rotates the car and has to do a spin turn there to get it going in the right direction again. Yeah,
a little bit too hot, and it was quite the dramatic spin compared to the slower spin that we saw earlier on from Drew Neubauer. But Daniel Tenorio, I love watching these cars go through here because they are so soft, they are so bouncy, these Porsches. I've said it a lot this season.
Making a dive down to the inside of John Bodeford right there. John tries to come back at him. You can see right now, just nose to tail as they head down into the final chicane. This is where Dino spun the Michael out a little bit earlier, so we'll see if there is another dive down the inside from the driver behind. Doesn't look like there will be, and I think that's Dino firmly up into our last podium position here, Chaz.
It is indeed, yep. Carries a lot more speed through there this time, not getting held up by any battling going on, so past John Botefer he goes. Justin Rame is the next target, 4 seconds up the road, but Elvis Rankin continues to lead this race. Elvis top of the pile in the championship right now, and he has quite the healthy 12-point advantage, but these guys have matched each other so much over the season. They've actually, if I have this right, there's only one round this season, other than the very first round where Elvis didn't race. There's only been one round this season where there's been more than, well, there's been one car between Elvis and Dino. They've always finished right next to each other in terms of their positions this season, from what I can see.
Really, that's so interesting to see. I guess I hadn't really thought about that stat until you bring it up there. But yeah, that's just how close the battles are between these guys, and where they match on pace with the rest of the field. And these guys are all relatively close on pace. I mean, you've seen, it's been almost 3/4 of a lap since Dino was able to get around John, and look at how much he hasn't really pulled away in that lap. I mean, it's only about 0.4 of a second. These guys are all really close on pace.
Yeah, and that's the best thing for racing as well, especially in one-make stuff as well. It's great to watch because it does keep the racing very close, especially in the world of sim racing as well, where you can have these fixed setup championships and everybody being on the same setup. They're literally in this same identical car underneath, It's just the fleshy bit behind the wheel that makes the difference. Some of these guys, though, have these cars so well set up. A lot of that comes down to driver preference. You know, some drivers prefer to be able to deal with a bit of understeer. You know, then you know where the limit of the car is, and they can sort of just play to that and have to adapt to it. Or some of these guys have a very oversteery car. Of course, it's better to have more rotation, but you've got to be able to control the oversteer. That's the thing. You've got to be able to deal with it and put up with it for quite a long race. It means it's more of a challenge to drive. So we do see a bit of difference in the behaviour of some of these cars sometimes. But right now, I can't really pick apart the loose setups, as we call them, to the very stable setups.
Yeah, I think right now Dino has a little bit of a loose setup, although I can't tell if that's just because he's been burning up his rear tires. And like you mentioned too, Chaz, you know, if you want an understeery setup, something that's very tight on corner entry, you have to put more, you know, input into the wheel to get the car to turn. That's, of course, going to grind down your front tires, so it's going to be even harder for that car to turn through the rest of the race. And if you have an oversteery setup, that means you're oftentimes going to have to be lighter on your right foot to avoid the car from spinning out upon acceleration every time you plant that thing on the loud pedal. So, and at that point, you know, the hotter you get the tires, the less grip they have. They just get angrier and angrier. It's a really vicious circle.
Yeah, it is indeed. There's one of the best things about motorsport, though, if you ask me. It's just the fact that there's always compromise. You can't have one thing in motorsport without the other. You want a car that's fast in a straight line? Probably it won't go round corners. You know, you want a car that'll go round corners, might not be as quick in a straight line. But just because of the laws of physics, it means that motorsport is so interesting like that. You can only go one way or the other. As down the inside, one way or the other, this, he says. Errol Urixoy down the inside of Logan Vida. That's important for the AM Championship. Errol taking third place in class. Logan saying, not on your life, sunshine. I'm not letting you get away with that one. Goes right back up behind him. Only 5 points between these guys in the standings at the moment. And it'll certainly be less than that if the race finishes this way, but there's still a long way to go for them. But Errol Urixoy cements himself into third position. For now, that is. What's Logan going to do to remix the concrete and undo that and get back onto that podium spot? All the while, though, these guys are losing Florea and Metzger, who have disappeared off up the road in the two twisted cars.
Well, yeah, it's just like what you mentioned. You know, there's always compromise in racing. Sometimes you want to foul the guy ahead of you, even though you're faster than him. So technically, he's slowing you down. Or if you go battle him, you're going to lose probably an entire second if you can't execute the pass, you know, in the most efficient manner you can. Sometimes the most efficient way is to lose an entire second. And of course, you're only going to gain a couple tenths of a second, if even that, over the course of an entire lap. So you do have to kind of compromise. Do I just ride behind this guy and save my stuff for later, or do I attack him now and see what I can do with the leaders if the time comes?
Yeah, that's it. And you've got to think as well, with longer races, you can sometimes try and do a bit of fuel saving in the slipstream. Try and go that extra lap more on your stint. Maybe try and overcut and then show them your true pace when they get into the pits. Because then if you've saved your tyres enough as well, you'll have a bit more rubber to use up on that in lap. But usually we all know that the undercut tends to be the one that works. It's just about who blinks first most of the time.
Battle between Joseph Smith right now in the AM category, right? Pretty hotly contested with the car just behind him. Going to be Jason Bridges as they head down the back straightaway just before they come into the final chicane, before they go on to the front stretch to complete another lap here. These guys have been battling really close to each other for the last couple laps here. That's Joe coming into the pits, just like you mentioned there, pulling that undercut. So it looks like this is going to be a two-stop race for these drivers because more than likely they'll have to pit one more time. And oh wow, Harry Will's in the wall.
Yeah, Harry Will's in the wall hard as well, and that's going to be the end of his race. Oh, he's lost the back end through cops. Oh, overcorrects and bang!
Yeah,
that
is a hard hit to deal with, especially on the back end. Definitely going to ruin the suspension of that car and probably some engine damage as well. It doesn't look like he has too much damage on the front end, so get another view of this.
Oh, it was going, and then it wasn't, and then it was, and then it wasn't. That's
just how hard these cars are to control it. You know, I guarantee he went through the corner, thought, shoot, I need to save this car. And then he thought he did save it, and then he tried to put more power down, just being a little bit greedy before the car was actually completely settled, and then he had to save the car again. And at that point, you know, it just catches, grips, and flings you into the wall. And that's just how challenging these cars are to drive. Right when you think you have it saved, you don't.
No, that's it. It was the little touch of the curb as well that unsettled it. Obviously, he's loaded up that left rear tyre, got the car saved temporarily, and then all of a sudden, before him and the car know it, The physics of the entire situation have changed again with a little tap on the curb, and suddenly he finds himself in the wall. A real shame that for Harry Wills. He had a fantastic defensive effort early on, but that means that two of our pro drivers are way down the order. Michael Yanni is racing, but that car still doesn't look too healthy. He's out there just to try and score some points right now, it has to be said.
Yeah, he's out there to get any points just in case one of his fellow drivers in the AM category has any problems. You know, we just saw Harry Wills make hard impact with the inside wall. If Harry doesn't go out on track in enough laps, Michael's just going to take that position, and crucially, that's another point for him in the championship standings. So he's just trying to make the most out of a very bad situation today.
Yeah, that's it. Based on the previous points that I saw, you get 100 points for a win, then it's 95, 90, 85. And then John Botifer got 50 points for some reason at round 7. I think that's based on how many laps he completed.
Daniel Floria getting passed by a driver just to his inside. The two teammates, the Twisted Racing Machines, right now battling in that AM category.
Yeah, that's Casey Metzger going to the head of the AM field. That's Twisted Racing Red now with the two Twisted Racing White cars behind. So 3 Twisted cars on the podium. They've had a pretty good run in the AM category.
They certainly have. Yeah, they've been doing a fantastic job locking out podiums left and right, doing a great job. Certainly a great showing from the team. Team principal's got to be proud. Their own Toto Wolff, if you will.
Yes, indeed. He's not going to be snapping any headsets, that's for sure. Not throwing them out the garage window, although he might be if Casey Metzger keeps going wide at cops like that. That's a heart-stopping moment, especially when the back end starts twitching. Wow, oh wow, you don't want to do that too many times. Love watching these cars through Maggotts and Beckett's, though. Such a difficult section. Really difficult section.
It's difficult in any car, even if the car has plenty of downforce, because it's so line dependent, you know, based on how much speed you can get. But in these cars where they don't have much downforce, it's line dependent, and it's throttle and brake dependent too, because you're just on the ragged edge of grip. And we've seen how easy these cars are to spin out on easy corners to get through. For instance, the last corner of the lap, not the easiest, but certainly I don't think it's as challenging as Maggotts and Beckett's. And these guys just sling the cars through there like it's easy.
Yeah, they do. It's really entertaining to watch, especially how they just dance around. Now, speaking of dancing around, some of the positions in our pro category have been dancing around, but Justin Rame is now under attack from Dino Filippo. Dino is about half a second behind him at the moment as they come through Luffield. Hard onto the power.
Dino was about 4 and some change seconds back from Elvis, so I don't know if this is more pace that Dino has or Elvis is kind of cooling off. His tires kind of just riding around right now, maybe at 95% pace. Kind of knows he has about almost a 4-second gap back to Dino. So Dino right now, of course, he's going to be chewing up his tires, trying to pass all these cars. You saw Justin Ream get a little bit of oversteer there just before they head into Maggotts and Beckett's.
Yeah, looking at previous lap times, Dino did a 2:02.4. Car in front, Justin did a 2:03.2. So he's certainly got a good difference over him. In terms of Elvis, he was 0.3 quicker than our race leader. So Dino's sort of got the red mist out of the way early, and he's absolutely on it right now for Auris Racing. Hard onto the brakes they go. Nice bit of trail braking now as they go round Stowe towards the club chicane. Just looks like Dino's got that car a lot more smooth through each corner. You can see that Justin is dancing around quite a lot, really moving the car one way then the other. Dino, nice smooth inputs, winds the lock on and off very cleanly. He's not making too many adjustments. Justin a bit wide there out of the final corner. Nearly half an hour of this race already gone here though, Austin. It's certainly flying by again, mate, but great chase we've got on our hands here.
Oh yeah, it's especially fun when you see a driver with this much talent having to come through the field after maybe a poor start. We obviously, you know, our top 3 championship contenders, as they all do, you know, the invert based on championship position to start the races off on the grid. Just fantastic to see the battles all race long between these guys. And Dino really putting on a show today. And crucially for Dino, right now, if he can pass Justin, it's more capitalization on the points he can gain over the race that Michael Yanni is having. Obviously 2 laps down. He was able to get past Harry Wills, so good for him in the championship standings right now. At least, you know, salvaging another point, but still going to lose quite a couple to both Elvis and Dino if he continues to finish like this, or the race does finish like this. We saw Michael kind of come back out on track, and it's never fun to drive around in a wrecked race car, but he's doing everything he can to hold on to some points at least, as we look at Logan Vada right now in the AM category.
Yeah, Logan's starting to lose out a little bit here to Errol just in front of him. Errol is on the move. in third position. He's got 5 seconds to his teammate. Oh, John Cooper's just had a spin ahead of this. Spins it back around again, but he's going to lose some overall positions to these guys. But right now...
Yeah, not a whole lot more that John can lose, because we obviously saw Rasmussen hit the inside wall 6 laps down right now, so not much further down John Cooper can go down the order, but he's obviously trying to get the car righted just in case there is an accident from one of his fellow Pro-Am competitors. So we see the battle between Dan Floria and Casey Metzger just ahead of him. These guys do have very similar liveries, but one is Twisted Racing white, like you mentioned, Chaz, and one is Twisted Racing red. So even though they are kind of team cars, when you're a race car driver, it doesn't matter if it's your teammate or not, you're going to go out and pass.
You are indeed, yeah. These guys all do push against each other. Justin's just gone a little bit too hot into Stowe there on the brakes, I'm afraid, and Dino Filippo gets a nice easy pass down the inside. Thank you very much, he says. We had an issue for Andrew Rasmussen again. He's had another spin here and then jumped to the pits. Not a good day at the office for Andrew. He's just on the power a little bit early there, completely spins it, keeps his foot flat, and he's gone into the wall. And I think that is going to be one very, very annoyed Andrew Rasmussen after tonight. Came into this evening in the Pro-Am Championship. He was 6th in the standings. So he wasn't really in with a fight of going to the top. He was currently 139 points off the top guys. Sorry, 129, my apologies. No, 139, my maths is right. But, yeah, still, it would have been nice for him to stay in touch like that, but Andrew just overdoing it slightly on the throttle there, as is easy to do, as we've seen already a few times tonight.
Yeah, certainly, you touched on it earlier in the broadcast, Jazz. Some of the more looser or oversteery setups, Andrew just has one of those on his hands where your tires just get a little bit too excited and go ahead and over-rotate the car for him. But this battle for the AM category still continues to be hotly contested between Metzger and Floria. And, of course, Yurksoy obviously made his way up into third position right now. Last car on the podium. We'll see if he can make any kind of dent into the lead. But, given these guys are single file, I'm sure they'll kind of just make it a point to pull away from Arrow before they go ahead and fight between themselves, and maybe they'll save it for the last couple minutes of the race. Should be exciting.
Yeah, it's always good fun to watch, isn't it? We always have these fantastic battles all the way throughout, and now that Chaz has started to pay more and more attention to the championship points while trying to balance the stream as well, it certainly makes for interesting viewing as I scramble around from screen to screen. But still, it means that we know exactly what the championship battle's like. And Daniel Tenorio, who is, of course, tied for the AM Championship lead, Pro-Am Championship, get it right, Chaz, is in the barriers.
Yeah, that's not at all good for him. You can see him blinking. I'm sure if he could reverse his car out of there, he would. But he's saying pass left in the driver chat, so I believe he just had some kind of equipment malfunction, just locked up the brakes, and, of course, no steering input in that car. So spanning the pass left button, I feel like that's an equipment malfunction.
Yeah, we're going to go slow-mo this, because I think Daniel, to be fair... Oh, Chaz has broken the replays by doing that. If we just have a quick look at it, there he is still in the barrier. That's a very close-up view.
Yeah, well, when you hit the tire barriers that hard, sometimes it does stick the car inside of them, and there's nothing you can do to find reverse and get that thing out. It's literally just stuck in there like glue, and the only way to get out of there is to, of course, press the escape button and get a tow back to pit road. And yeah, he just goes straight into the tire barrier, so I don't know if his wheel kind of stopped working there. You see him trying to slow the car down, getting hard on the brakes, but
well, if you listen,
the tires.
It was still on the throttle, and I think what's happened is sometimes when your wheel does disconnect, it puts half throttle, half brakes, and stays at whatever steering input you last had, dependent on the type of wheel. So it's been on the brakes, on the throttle, and it's just locked in place. That's why it's just gone completely straight on. And it still sounds like it was revving up slightly, despite being in gear. So I think he's had one of those sort of catastrophic failures, either of the sim, where it completely just sticks all inputs in one place, or, like you say, it's just either the wheel or the pedals individually have disconnected or had a problem, and then it's, of course, been a bit of a domino effect. We've had a few pit stops. Rankin and Filippo yet to pit, but this is the gap, 2.6 seconds between them. What a comeback drive this is for Dino Filippo. Fantastic performance as things go. Casey Metzger
Oh,
and
that's
Daniel.
Rankin into the pits. Dino follows him in there. We'll see who comes out on top. We'll also see at the gap between, which one of these drivers takes the most amount of fuel. Don't know if maybe Elvis was maybe saving a little bit of fuel so he doesn't have to take as much on this stop. I believe these guys will have to take 2 stops. Really just depends, though. We'll have to see. Obviously, if they are just on the brink of running out of fuel right now, they need to come in and get a splash of fuel with about 5 minutes left in the race. So I feel like this is going to be a 2-stopper chance, but we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I reckon it will be. They might just have to do a splash and dash at the end, I think, with just a little bit more fuel going in. A lot of the time we don't see these guys taking tyres, but this is the battle in the AM category, as you see on the left-hand side of your screen. No pit stops for these guys yet at the front, but Kulaga in 3rd place has pitted. Absolutely devastating stuff, though, it has to be said, for Daniel Tenorio after doing so well early on. Elvis Rankin comes out. John Botifer, though. Wow. John's got a cutback on these guys and goes into the race lead. That's awesome for John. He was 8 seconds quicker in the pits, though, than Elvis Rankin.
Yeah, that tells me he kind of underfueled the car to kind of get out there and use that fuel pace to his advantage. He will have to stop a lot earlier than the rest of the field, though, and he'll probably have to take all that 8 seconds more of fuel than his competitors. So I don't know if this is planned or maybe he had some kind of a calculation error in his crew chief app, if he even runs one or not, but we'll have to see here in a minute.
Yeah, I think what he might also be trying to do is just use that track position and try and hold up Elvis Rankin a little bit, because at the end of the day, if you try and stop your rival getting as much of an advantage from a short or long stint, however it turns around on you, it can go very well or very wrong. Now Daniel Tenorio's had another issue, I'm afraid. He's left the pits again. Let's see, is the wheel suddenly going to lock in place? Comes into the first corner. Yep.
Textbook. Same thing as the last time. He was able to finally get it to connect just before he went into the gravel, but it looks like that was the last kind of hope his wheel had of connecting, and now he's stopped again after going straight once more. But it's not just Botifer out front, too. It's Justin Ream as well in the 3rd position right now. Both those Alpine Geodesic racing cars, are 1 and 3, I feel like they both must have taken a lot less fuel than our 2 former leaders, being Rankin and Philippa, so we'll have to see how this plays out for him. But, of course, it happened once before. It's there to happen again. I feel like Elvis and Dina are just going to go through the field here in a second.
Yeah, I reckon so. Now John was, of course, moving around a lot there to try and break the slipstream down the back straight. Elvis is just thinking, well, if you're going to weave and scrub off your speed, mate, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just going to stay in a straight line and do what I'm doing. Now Justin's going to be hoping that his teammate can back up Elvis Rankin right now. That'll make things very interesting. Things with an F, that was, by Chaz. Sorry. But Elvis is in a bit of a sandwich now. He needs to make sure that he's not getting drawn into a fight with Justin Ream. Just needs to keep his nose down the inside. Lovely stuff on John Botifer. John turns in, though. Oh, John, that was naughty stuff. John still turns in despite Elvis being there. Not completely on board with that one, but Elvis fights it out.
A little bit of an error, too, having to check up quite a bit for that contact just in front of him. Allows Dino to catch up to both those Alpine Stars geodesic racing machines. And Dino hot in the tail of both these guys. And we said it was a matter of time, Chaz, before Elvis got through. We certainly did that. We'll see if that damage does anything to him. You do see some of that damage, though, on his left front there, or right front, excuse me. No, left front. You can kind of see that as he goes through the shop, but we'll see if it has any effect on how his car handles for the rest of the race.
Yeah, it was certainly a scary moment. Look, down the inside he goes. It was nicely done, but John still turns in and turns in early.
He gets the call right there, of course, that there is another car, and he goes to turn in like Elvis just isn't there, and they might contact. And a bit of a naughty move, not very sportsmanlike, but these guys really want it.
Oh, they do indeed. They will push everything they can to the limit. Maybe even, to be fair, I mean, we know what these cars are like. Even if he was on the brakes, maybe he just lifted slightly just to carry a bit more speed in there. The car just found a little bit more grip and a bit more pace when he came off it. He unloaded certain parts of the car. It can happen. These things do move around on the brakes. We've seen it quite a bit, especially at Monza we saw it as well. Cars really sort of floating around. We might just be sort of having to give him the benefit of the doubt, but certainly looked to me like there was intent to still get to the apex there, despite knowing there was a car on the inside. But I mean, these four to be this close together still after so long in this race, nearly 40 minutes, it really shows how close it is.
Yeah, after that first bit of contact, I kind of can't. I can give the benefit of the doubt after it happens once, but when it happened again, it's kind of like I don't know if I meant to that second time, but certainly you are correct. Sometimes there is quite a bit of a off throttle oversteer, even off brake oversteer, and I feel like that's just what we might have seen there between the two cars making contact, because we see Daniel Tenorio still having problems with his wheel. I wouldn't be too surprised if he just kind of parked it right here as he's trying to make it back to pit road, but. I feel like at this point he is trying to hang on to all the positions he can. You see Dino Filippo making up a spot on John Bodefer. The next driver, of course, is Justin Ream. Looks like he's going to try the crossover one more time. Not quite close enough to get it done.
Yeah, John Bodefer very far around the outside there. Just seemed to let them go by. So not quite sure what his plan was, but it was certainly along the lines of, oh, well, go through.
Filippo's going up the inside, though. We'll see if he makes it. Going to do the crossover right here is, contact there. Yeah, that actually dented Filippo's rear bumper. He did try to check up a little bit just on the apex to try and prevent Justin from doing the crossover. Justin, he saw it coming, got out of the throttle earlier, got on the brake early, tried to turn in just to kind of pull over that, pull the crossover on Dino, and Dino said, mate, I'm not having any of it. I'm just going to stop on the apex so you can't, and just made some contact.
And all the while, Elvis Rankin is starting to get away up the road. 1.8 seconds now, the gap to these guys. Battle for the lead in the Pro-Am category is still going on. However, these two pretty much stable mates, so not too much. Whoa, nearly contact.
Bit of a lock up there. I don't know if that was looking for it, if that was just kind of making sure he could see his braking marker there. Definitely not going to do his tires any favors. But Dino Filippo now, he does have a lap car between he and Elvis, so we'll see if he can do anything about that. But yeah, you see that, I believe that's Neubauer just getting out of the way there to kind of let these guys all come through. He obviously knows so the pro drivers are going to pass him anyway. Very sportsmanlike from him. Dino, though, already down to 1.5 seconds of a gap. We just saw it was 1.8 when he finally got past Justin Ream there down the backstretch. So we'll see if it closes up more. Hard to tell if Elvis is kind of saving fuel or if this is all the pace he has.
Yeah, indeed. And to be fair, one of the real benefits of this championship is that they use the iRacing nickname system that you can get in the leagues here. And what they do is you basically change the nickname of a driver in your league and they add an initial before it, either P for Pro, PA for Pro-Am, and obviously A for Am ahead of the name. So when drivers look at their what's known as the relative, which is a little black box in the bottom right of your screen that tells you to the nearest tenth of a second how far away a car is from you, you can see which class the drivers are in as they are right there on circuit with you. You know, you don't need to rely on certain decals or stickers on the livery to tell you. Some series do run that, but when you are racing and it comes down to getting either trading paints on the go or downloading a paint pack, not all drivers do that, so it's great to be able to do it in a form that is completely fail-safe, and the league do a good job of organising that. We've had an issue for Oscar Fias. Oscar Fias has spun the car. That's coming out of the first couple of corners, I believe. He's just had a spin on his own. Holds on to the class lead, though.
Just before the back straightaway there. He's still doing a fantastic job holding on to the class lead. You see right now 24 seconds over Jeremy Littleton. So Yas just kind of, lengthening his lead here, kind of stretching his legs, see how far he can get out in front. We saw him make that spin, and still 24 seconds lead over Jeremy Littleton. So maybe, like Yas says, maybe I'll just slow it down the pace here a little bit, only drive at 9/10 instead of the full 10/10.
Yeah, that's it, and he's got a decent championship lead over the other guys as well. He may be tied for the championship lead with Daniel Tenorio, but I think after tonight...
Yeah, Tenorio's in 5th place right now at best. We'll see, we already saw him have all those problems with his wheel. It might fall down the order even more depending on how many other drivers in his category can get back going. We see a lot of drivers fall out of contention in that category today. And you look at the battle for your lead right there in the right-hand part of your screen. Dino's caught up to Elvis. Right now that gap less than a second, just like we mentioned earlier, to those Alpine Stars geodesic racing cars. John Bodefer pulls into the pits. We saw him underfuel his car before, so this is just going to be him topping that thing up to make sure he can get to the end. Crucially, Justin Ream stays on another lap to see what else might happen. And I feel like that's just those two drivers making sure that they pit on different laps.
Yeah, that's it. I think they're both trying different strategies right now just to try and undercut the other guys or short fuel as much as possible. These guys do an incredible job at calculating the fuel as the race goes on, though, and most of the time they get it absolutely bang on, and I still have no clue how they figure it all out. This is Logan Vida. Needs to have a strong result to continue his charge at the top of the AM Championship. Errol Uriksoy, his nearest rival, some 5 seconds ahead right now. Doesn't sound like a lot, But in a race like this, when you're trying to just get any tiny advantage over championship rivals, 5 seconds can feel like a big, big mountain to climb. He has got Gary Brown right in front of him in the FTR Esports car. Gary had a spin earlier on as well, so makes me think something surely happened to Logan Vida. But he's doing a good job at least pushing away here, because really, if you look at the championship, 5 points isn't a lot, and I think he's going to lose out more than that here with this current situation.
Yeah, certainly. 5 points isn't a ton, and when you look at how many points you can get per position, you kind of have it all to do in the last couple rounds here of the series before it comes down to crunch time. And right now, a couple different battles for the lead. You see the battle for the Pro-Am category right now, 0.5 of a second. Battle for the Pro category, only 0.8 of a second. Jas Garvius with his spin is leading from 24 seconds down to only 16 over Jeremy Littleton. Steven Martinez currently in 3rd position in the Pro-Am category. Not a whole lot of racing going on between those drivers, very much spaced out all the way down through the field. So we'll keep it right locked in here to the Pro and Am categories.
Yeah, indeed. There's some lovely battles going on, but of course at the top end of the AMs, it's these two twisted racing cars. They're not going to push each other too hard. They don't want to risk losing any points for the team. They may as well just get as many points as they can for their own drivers. Although I must actually say, Elvis Rankin has got Dino Filippi closing in on him here. The gap was for a moment down to 0.4 of a second as he went down the Wellington Straight. And now it looks like Dino is on a mission. I did say earlier that Dino needs one, and I think he might be on the brink of one here, but still, we have got half an hour left to go of this race.
Yeah, we saw Michael Yanni behind the two drivers fighting for the overall win in the AM category. Right now, we're still looking at this battle in the Pro category. We did mention it was down to 4 seconds, now back down to 0.4 of a second between those two drivers. And I feel like right now, Elvis's setup either isn't handling right now in these cooler temperatures, or maybe he's having a lot of front-end tire grip. I don't know if he's having problems with that, or if he's just kind of saving them, but you certainly look at all these corners. Certainly, it seems like his car is understeering just a little bit, whereas Dino right now dealing with some oversteer, but much more handleable or easier to deal with for Dino right now than it is for Elvis.
Yeah, that's it. Some of these guys have setups that they can really drop off a cliff, but they're amazing when they are on the ball. But then other drivers have a car that doesn't really go off by much over the course of a race. It's easy to manage, especially when the tyres do start to drop away later on down the line. A bit of traffic here.
Martinez just in front of these guys, going to go ahead and let them through. Elvis gives him a good thank you as they do that. He's going to go for a bit of a defensive line as they head down into the corner. Dino's going to go around the outside. Actually, I don't know if maybe that was Elvis having a slowdown penalty there for cutting the corner, or if he just knows that Dino's faster, so he's going to go ahead and pull over for him, or maybe Elvis going to the pits. Not quite. They passed the pit entry.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. That I'm wondering whether he's going to use the slipstream to save a bit of fuel here. Here's Elvis. Does he know that he's underfueled it enough? I mean, they were in the pits. Actually, Dino was stationary for 0.2 of a second less when they were in the pits first time round. So let's stay with Elvis for a second and see exactly what he's doing here, because this could be a really interesting part of the race to see how this plays into his strategy. Certainly an exciting part of the race where things have turned on their head quite quickly, but Dino Filippi, after the earlier sort of turmoil he had early on with the battles and the contact and all sorts with Michael Yanni, still on merit has got to the front of the pack here. It's incredible driving by him.
Yeah, obviously he's got the car to beat today. I don't know if this is maybe he just really, finds the flow in Silverstone very well. But right along with Elvis Rankin right here, you look at those LEDs on the dash, the tachometer there, the ribbons, if you will. He certainly doesn't seem to be short shifting. It didn't seem like he lifted too early going into that corner. So don't know if he is saving fuel. And you can see Dino continues to pull away. So we saw him catching him for a long time. I think Elvis just kind of knew, hey, you're catching me. I'm not going to fight you for it. You can just go ahead and pull away. Obviously, these two drivers locked into a fierce battle for the championship. We saw Dino have a very rough race a couple rounds ago at Road Atlanta, and Elvis had a pretty decent going there, and he's had a couple decent goings since then. So maybe kind of just says you can go ahead and have this 1 point after all. Michael Yanni right now currently in 6th position, just kind of hoping more drivers have some issues, and we do kind of see some of that left front damage on Elvis's car right there.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether the damage has more to do with this than we expected. potentially thinking, I'm not going to be able to hold this guy off. You know, I'll only lose time if I fight with him, so I may as well do it in a place where I'm going to only lose a little bit of time. But he's got quite a bit of damage all the way down the left-hand side of that car, so hopefully for Elvis, it's not too troublesome to get this car to the end. We need to look back in the AMs because Gary Brown and Logan Vida are fighting hard, and Logan, of course, needs to keep going forwards for the championship.
Yeah, we talk about some drivers being really good at passing other drivers, and you know, there's a flip side of that, being able to defend very well. And Gary's one of the best drivers at defending his position. We see it time in and time out. We see him kind of be a roadblock to some other drivers, and it's in his best interest to be one, not to just let drivers by. And he's very good at not only driving defensively, but just kind of holding his line and making other drivers either do better than him and not forcing himself into a mistake. As you can see, just makes a little bit of a mistake, it goes to the outside, but not a huge one though. I think Logan just has a little bit more pace, and his front end right here has a little bit more grip in his car right now.
Yeah, Logan getting very close on the run down to Maggots and Beckett's, but backs out of it, makes sure that he's not too close and doesn't make any contact. They've got Steven Martinez just behind them as well in the Pro-Am category, of course started in the pit lane, but for overall position, this is actually a race between the three of them, but obviously the points given out in class. Logan Vida goes to the right-hand side of Gary Brown, down the inside on the way into Stowe at the end of the hangar straight, but Gary carries a lot of speed on the way in. Logan hugs the inside line, doesn't quite have any sort of overlap, and into the pits comes Martinez, and into the pits comes Eric Kulaga. The two Vulture Motorsports cars deciding to come in. Hopefully, for them, this could be some sort of cutback that works on the cars ahead.
Yeah, obviously, I think that's what their intention is right now. Kind of pit early, see if they can get out here in some clean air. Hopefully for them, the two drivers we see fighting right now, being Brown and Vada, don't pit for a good couple laps, give themselves some opportunity. Looking at the battle, though, for the pro category, Elvis Rankin only 0.7 of a second back, so he might just be kind of saving fuel right now, maybe using some of the draft down the straightaways. Maybe we say, you know, he has a lot of grip in the corners, but he doesn't have as much down the straightaway, given how much damage he has down the left-hand side of his car. So interested to see that. Maybe we can talk to him after the end of the race here.
Yeah, indeed. I'm certainly intrigued by that one. I'll have to wait and see, I suppose. We've got John Cooper into the pits in the Turnburn Moto Pro-Am car, currently 4th in his class at this present time.
Okay. Yeah, John doing a fantastic job today, holding on to that top 5 position in that the pink and white machine.
Yeah, he had a bit of a spin earlier on, but still manages to be up there in class. We have actually lost the other 3 Pro-Am cars, Tenorio, Rasmussen and Timms, so they will not be scoring any points tonight by the look of it. Dean Timms I don't actually think took the start either. We've seen Dean in a couple of the races this season, of course, starting near the front. I was classed at the bottom of the Pro-Am Championship, but yeah, he's not out there fully in this one. 3 twisted cars on track right now. Casey Metzger, Daniel Florea and Errol Yerksoy. This is great for Errol because if his 2 teammates let him through here in the AM category, he could certainly score a big bunch of points in the championship over Logan Vida, who is currently 2 cars behind these guys. Gary Brown still ahead of him at this moment in time, despite that little mistake earlier. Gary's still holding on. Can Logan get a cutback?
Very defensive line all the way down the inside. Logan goes around the outside, actually. I'm surprised that worked for both those drivers. Still side by side as they head down into the chicane. Looks like Logan is going to come out with the position. I think that was Gary right now, realizing he'd been bested as Logan went around the outside, so he kind of just let him have it.
Yeah, he held the pace really nicely around there. There is a long, wide part of the circuit there at Stowe. I've seen a number of cars try that before, but great stuff by Logan to carry that pace. Now, in terms of the overall positions, by the way, we've got 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, which are our pro drivers. Then Yoskar Fias is 5th overall. Jeremy Littleton is 6th overall. And then it's Jonathan Ouellette, who, again, is just still out there doing laps. He's under the radar, which is ironic considering the car is bright metallic green. But he's just putting the laps in, isn't he? He may be 1 minute and 14 seconds off the race leaders, but it's more points for the championship.
Yeah, it certainly is. Right now, he's making the best day out of a bad situation. We saw Jonathan have 2 self-spins earlier in the race. You know, he's just recovering from those right now, doing a fantastic job taking advantage of both Harry and Michael having their own errors, becoming multiple laps down, and he's just kind of putting his race together right now, trying to score some big points to say, hey, look at me, look at what I can do. As you see, Elvis Rankin had a little bit of oversteer going through the grass right there, cutting the corner just a little bit too much. You see him right now 1.5 seconds down to Dino Filippa, so maybe that damage playing a bigger part into that, but the gap right now even being increased to now 1.7 seconds. Interestingly enough, though, you look at the prime category, Jas Garfias out to now at almost 24-second lead. We saw it was 24 seconds before he had that self-spin earlier, Chaz.
Yeah, he's having an absolute wonderful day at the races, is Jas Garfias. Yes, he may have had that spin, but unbelievable pace and consistency so far from the Mexican driver. Certainly shown the others how it's done. These guys are flying in formation like our very wonderful British Red Arrows. Down the straight we go. Casey Metzger ahead of Daniel Fleury and Errol Uriksoy. Errol's got a fantastic view of his two teammates' cars right now, but these guys could just be helping each other with slipstream, with saving fuel, or even just giving the driver behind a bit of a reference point, because I'm not sure about you, Austin, or whether I've even mentioned this before, but I always find that following on a racetrack is better for me. You know, when it comes to me putting in a lap on my own and finding places to be quicker, I'm terrible at identifying those choices and those sort of braking zones and so on, and ways to get quicker. If there's a car in front of me to sort of work off, it just seems to feel better, and I think maybe this is a bit of a psychological thing for Errol right now.
Yeah, I've kind of seen that myself sometimes in some of the GT racing leagues I'm in, where we race on the road courses instead of my usual oval short track racing. But some drivers are legitimately faster if they can follow another driver just ahead of him. And oftentimes they'll see, you know, if the guy ahead makes a mistake and now the follower is the leader, they're oftentimes a good couple tenths of a second slower. So maybe Errol is doing that, maybe he doesn't mind following, but of course it could just be the pace advantage. Oh, so you see one car going very, very sideways there, making contact with another twisted racing machine, and that's going to go ahead and pop up the whole field there. Oh, more contact.
Oh, that's the number 47 machine. That's Drew Neubauer. Now, this is the second time in a week that Drew's had issue with lapped traffic. He's not making a good name for himself with that. I don't know what Drew was
doing there. It looks like he just carried a little bit too much speed there. Yeah.
Oh, that was earlier. Apologies.
This is how he got off the pace originally. This is why he's about a lap down to the drivers in his own class, and you can see just kind of making contact with those other drivers. I'm sure the racing stewards won't be too pleased with that maneuver.
No, and Errol Uriksoy, especially with a championship in grasp, will not be pleased either. Drew's not really getting out of the way here, and he's gone too hot into there as well. It's all a bit clumsy. He needs to be careful about rejoining, and yeah, Errol gives him a wide berth, but Logan Vida now is only 3 seconds behind him, so that has not helped Errol in the championship whatsoever. He will not be a happy boy. But like you said, Drew Neubauer, we're not going to highlight it too much, but still not making many friends out there with the lap traffic this week, it seems. But look at this man, Dino Filippa. Talk about a man on a mission right now. Absolutely flying. Just got to wonder, when's the next pit stop going to be? I reckon it'll be pretty much bang on the hour mark, and then he'll just have a quick 15-minute sprint to the end.
I think so, yeah. The farthest I can see him going is about the 1 hour and 10-minute mark. That'd be doubling his last stint time. So, of course, first stint was at the 35-minute mark. This next one should be at an hour and 10 minutes. So, I don't think he can push it past an hour and 10 minutes. So, we'll see when he comes in. But I think we should see him pit right here on the hour mark.
Bit of movement further down the order with where some of these guys are finding themselves. Just had a bit of a blip there for a second, everybody. Apologies. Just dropped a number of the frames. Not quite sure what kicked into life there across my PC or network, so apologies for that. But Daniel Fleury still right with Casey Metzger. Errol Uriksoy is now going to try and close back in on whatever's going on here.
Yeah, he did such a fantastic job to catch both of his teammates, so that we're kind of each separated by only a half a second. Right now he's got an entire second to make up on Dan Fleury before he goes ahead and catches him to be right back where he was before. So we'll see if he can do that, but he's just got to be seeing red right now after the contact with Drew and what Drew did to kind of stack them all up. All three of the drivers lost time with Drew there trying to let him through, and of course that just means Logan Vada now closer to them, and that's the last thing you want as a leader, is to be checked up.
Yeah, definitely. In a situation like this, you want to just keep the momentum, have everybody moving at decent speed. You don't want to be fighting amongst yourselves or getting held up in a situation that is supposed to help you all. You know what I mean? It's not a place that drivers want to find themselves in. But Errol Uriksoy on his way to take the lead in the championship, or at least, actually, I think if it's as it is, they'll probably be tied for the championship lead going into the final race meeting. That'll be a hell of a way to round out the season. But Casey Metzger and Daniel Fleury could do their teammate a favour here. I hope they know that as well, because I think that'll make this ending very, very interesting. Just over 15 minutes to go now.
I think it could, yeah. We've seen Errol kind of catch up to both these drivers. We'll see if he can put any sort of move on him to try and take the lead here. Even one more position would certainly help him in the championship standings. Any cars he can put between him and his championship competitor, Logan Vada, is certainly something he'd like to do, obviously, for the championship, just to kind of boost his own standings and kind of decrease the gap in points that Logan has over him right now.
Just love watching these things get onto the brakes into that section there. It's so difficult because the car's going left and then right so quickly, and trying to get it balanced while getting it stopped for a corner as tight as that right-hander, it's an art form. Justin Rames into the pits, by the way. He's making his second pit stop now. We'll have to see how long he is stationary for. Then it gives us the benchmark for the other guys, doesn't it, for when they come in, see what the fuel situation is there.
Yeah, it certainly will. We saw him kind of underfuel his car, not to the same degree that Bodefer did. Obviously, he pulled a lot shorter of a pit stop the first time around to kind of catapult himself back into the lead. So Reem obviously not doing that to the same degree that Bodefer did, but we'll see if, how close those two drivers are. Battle for the last spot on the podium in your pro category. We're going to keep it right now locked on in this battle in the AM category between Casey Metzger, Dan Floria, and Errol Uriksoy. Errol, of course, trying to pass both these drivers to win the race and kind of decrease the championship lead that Logan Vada has. Logan, of course, the driver in fourth position just behind them.
Now, we'll have a look here on the left-hand side of your screen. They are the last pit stop times by drivers. So Justin Rain was in the pits for 11.3 seconds compared to the 20 seconds of the earlier stops from Filippa and Rankin. That says to me that it is just a splash and dash situation. And look right behind him, John Botifer. The two of them have completely balanced out here because John was in the pits for a lot less than the other drivers earlier, if you remember. So right now it is all equaled out between these two anyway. We'll just have to wait to see how long it is until Dino Filippa and Elvis Rankin make their way onto pit road. I think potentially it could be this lap because they came in on the same lap last time, lap 17. I reckon we're going to see them come in here now. We're just coming up to finish lap 30.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too many laps. So worst case, you might have about 4, maybe 3 more laps before these guys do come into the pits, but they're still bringing these cars around on the absolute ragged edge. You see Dino just going all the way out to either end of the track as they go through the last chicanes here, doing a great job right now. Currently got the gap out to about 3.3 seconds, double what it was the last time we spoke about it.
Yeah, it's great to watch this pace from Dino Filippa. And Elvis Rankin, of course, just there in the back of the shop. Staying with him with the damage, it must be said. He's put in a mammoth effort so far. Just waiting to see now who else comes into the pits and who's going to be next out there. In terms of the pit stops, though, we'll show you on the left-hand side. We've only got a couple of drivers in the Pro category left to make their final stop. Same with Garfias and Littleton at the top of Pro-Am, as well as Elvis kicks the back end out. Top 4 in Am, though. Florea, Uriksoy, Vida and Gary Brown. They are yet to pit. Casey Metzger has pitted before his teammates, trying to maybe get an undercut and get away. Or do you reckon he's just going to put himself in a position to try and help Uriksoy at the end of this race?
I doubt he's putting himself in a position to try and help Errol. Obviously, they're kind of teammates, but at the end of the day, any of these drivers is racing for themselves. They're kind of only concerned about themselves, and I think it's a little bit too early to be giving away positions right now to your teammates based on the championship, because the gap between them is so minute, and all it takes is one bad race next week, and now the gap between Uriksoy and Vada goes from 5 or 6 points, maybe even 4, to about 10 or 20, just like that. So Errol, of course, being let by his teammate Dan Floria, so right now he's your overall leader in the AM category. I feel like Metzger probably just pulled off to kind of decrease the amount of racing he'd have to do with his teammates. Obviously, defending slows you down. If you run side by side with another driver, it's going to slow you both down. You look at Logan Vada, he's caught up to both these drivers, and I don't know if that's because they were fighting with one another or if because Uriksoy was just kind of riding around behind Dan, but Logan's doing a great job to catch him.
Yeah, he's right there with them now, isn't he? He certainly wasn't in touching distance earlier, but yeah, I think with that looming on the horizon, Florea's thought, right, I need to let you go now, Errol. I will be the best rear gunner you have ever seen. Watch me go into full Bottas mode here. Casey Metzger, though, could also be a spoiler in the pack for these guys when it comes down to it. Now, in terms of the pros at the very top, and of course, our Pro-Ams, Jos Garfias and Jeremy Littleton, who we've not seen too much of over the course of this race. 30 seconds behind Jos Garfias at the moment. These guys are still out there not pitting yet. Jeremy Littleton last came in on lap 16. This is now lap 31. And Dino and Elvis have gone through again.
Yeah, probably at the end of this lap, for sure the end of next lap. I don't assume you can push it any farther than that. I think most of these guys are going to have to make it into a two-stop. I don't believe you can save enough fuel in order to make it on only one stop. But of course, if anybody is, it might just be Jeremy Littleton in that fantastic Gulf racing livery right there in his Porsche.
It sounded like he was quite low in the rev range actually coming out of Maggots and Beckett's, but he's definitely not short shifting through there, so maybe just trying to save a little bit of momentum, not spin up the rear tyres at all. Michael Kulaga's just come out of the pits and been overtaken by Joseph Smith. He's got Jason Bridges with him. Littleton is into the pits in that very wonderfully zoomed in camera. This is the battle I just mentioned there with Bridges behind Kulaga, but still no other drivers coming in yet. Dino Filippa coming through Maggots and Beckett's. Plenty of time for him now ahead of Elvis Rankin.
Soy dives into the pits too. Now that you mentioned it, Chaz, another one of our drivers. Looks like Floria passes him right now, so Floria not quite coming into the pits just yet. Going to go ahead and complete another lap. I don't think any other driver has followed Soy into the pits here.
No, he hasn't. But that
you can see just behind him, Vada and Brown. So those two drivers are staying out as well. You see that change being also affected on your column there on the left-hand side of your screen. You see Jeremy Littleton pit exit.
Yep, Jeremy just emerging amongst these AM drivers here. Needs to just keep his head and keep it nice and tidy. But yeah, Errol Uriksoy, he's just got himself out of the pits right now. Let's see who he's around on track. He's got Eric Kulaga coming up behind him, but not closely enough. So a nice bit of clear road here for Errol. So he gets a chance to push, and make sure he stays away from this man, Logan Vida, who's having to fight with Gary Brown again, so he's getting held up here. This is exactly what he wants. Daniel Tenorio, by the way, still having an issue. Look, you can see it's accelerating and braking at the same time.
Yep, no steering input into that car whatsoever, so he just continues to have more and more problems. Obviously, at this point, he's just hoping one of his competitors has a problem. You see Gary Brown still in front of Logan Vada. Right now, those two battling for a podium position.
Whoa.
That's kind of on track. We've seen some other drivers go into the pits already.
Yeah, Logan looking to the left-hand side there. You can't do that. You can't just jump onto the grass to try and go around your competitor. But Gary, again, you said earlier that he's hard to overtake, and Logan is certainly being taught that the hard way. Gary's gone a little bit too hot into Maggots and Beckett's to begin with, but gets it slowed down nicely. Look at the alternating lines there. Is Logan going to get a cutback on the exit? We've not got long of this race left to go now. 7.5 minutes before the flag drops here at Silverstone. Down the back straight we go. And our leaders still not into the pits. I'm wondering whether some of these guys might not even pit, by the time this race is done. Look at that round the outside, Logan Vada. We've seen him do this before. Doesn't quite work this time, though, does it?
No, I think he was a bit too far wide, more so than he wanted to be. Both these drivers going to pull down pit lane. I'm surprised either one of them didn't kind of fake the other one out to go down pit road, or at least pit a little bit earlier to try and see if they could come out in clean air. For sure, Vada at least. I think he has a bit of a pace advantage over Brown. We're looking at Elvis Rankin right now, 6.5 seconds right now back from Dino Filippa. Yeah,
Dino's done an outstanding job. He's still not coming into the pits. I reckon he might have saved enough fuel to get to the end here. It'll be an absolute miracle if he can, but like you say, the 1 hour 10 minute mark is roughly where they can get up to, so we'll have to see. Now Logan Vada is coming out of the pits. Errol Uriksoy has gone way past. There he goes, so he's not got too much to worry about right now, and he's got quite a gap over Eric Kulaga behind him as well. Gary Brown comes out.
Yeah, Casey Metzger 2 seconds ahead of Errol Uriksoy right now. We'll see if that kind of changes anything in the next couple laps here. But looks like Casey had a fantastic idea, kind of pitting before the rest of the leaders, kind of using that pace advantage out in clean air, not having to attack anyone or defend from anyone to his advantage. Right now we see that difference go up to about 3 seconds as we see Elvis Rankin into the pits right now.
And he's taking fresh
Looked like
rubber.
he took tires there. Car did go up on the jacks.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, that, for Elvis.
You
I'm
know,
wondering.
it might be his tires were just kind of cambered too much. He was wearing them out too much. That's why we saw the pace differential come, and it was sort of take tires right now. Otherwise, you will blow them. And of course, if you blow your tires, you won't be able to control the car whatsoever. And kind of, you know, he knows the pace difference. He's not going to catch Dino right now. He's got such a large gap over John Bodefer. He can kind of come into the pits and get maybe at least some new front tires.
Yeah, and potentially the damage to the car as well, meaning that he has to put a bit more lock in. He just has to really work the car hard, and it's been damaging the tyres more and more as the race has gone on. This circuit is very difficult on tyres. So many high-speed corners here at Silverstone. It really does burn through rubber, this place, and it is very line-dependent, like you say. So if you are starting to go offline or the tyres are starting to go, you really feel it, and you have to work them that bit more. John Cooper's just had an issue in the Turnburn moto car. Let's see what's happened here. Oh, he was just slowed down and pulled over.
Yeah, I don't know if that was maybe he cut the track a couple laps ago, or he had some kind of issue in real life, maybe even a mechanical malfunction on his rig or something, but yeah, very weird to see him kind of pull over and stop.
And in comes Dino Filippo. Needs to sort his spec map out, I know that much, but he's on the way into the pits. That the standard spec map from the factory livery on the Porsche 992 there. It's an easy fix, which I've still not made a YouTube video about, but I'm sure I'll moan about it more at some point. Either way, Dino Filippo into the pits. We'll see how long he is stationary for. Elvis Rankin was stationary for 13.4 seconds. Dino stops right now. 5 seconds. Literally a splash and dash just to get him 5 minutes around this circuit. And he has got a nice, solid lead now. Dino Filippo has done an amazing job here. He's just got a couple more laps to complete here, Austin. What a drive.
Yeah, that's right, Dino, putting an absolute butt whooping on the field here, taking them to school, you know, just showing everyone what you got to do here. Interestingly enough, the gap between the AM drivers right now between Metzger and York, so we saw it was about 3 seconds down to only 1.5, so Errol's kind of cut that gap in half. I don't know if this is pure pace difference between the two drivers, but obviously nothing going on. Battles for the lead of the Pro-Am categories.
Yeah, Errol just reeling his teammate in bit by bit. I'm wondering if Metzger is trying to slow down a little bit to just let him close up, have some slipstream, and then maybe even let him through for the class win, because Eric Kulaga is the next car behind him, but there's 3 cars between him and Logan Vida. So Logan definitely not going to leave this one as the championship leader in the AM class. Errol Uriksoi really needs this, but of course Metzger doesn't want to slow down too much because of Kulaga being there. He's not going to bother playing the team game. He is 3rd in class at the moment. But again, if we just look at this top 6 in the AM category, separated by just over 7 seconds after an hour and a quarter of racing, that is again another testament to how close and competitive this championship is, as Florea goes wide, loses a place to Gary Brown.
Yeah, you mentioned just how close and competitive right now. The battle for the overall lead down to only 0.7 of a second. The last time we talked about it was double that at 1.4 seconds. You see this battle right now between Dan Florea and Gary Brown just ahead of him, these two drivers. Obviously, Gary, one of the hardest drivers to pass in the field. We've seen Dan put some pretty incredible moves on to make passes before. But yeah, like you mentioned though, Chaz, if Errol finishes where he does, even if he gets one more spot, that's crucially going to be 5 positions in between he and his championship competitor of Logan Vida. So Logan not likely to carry the championship lead out of here with him.
Yeah, indeed, and that'll be a very, very devastating moment for him, won't it, to be honest, if after so long being up there right in the fight, the gap suddenly opens up with 1 race to go. Now, Casey's made a mistake there as they come down towards Brooklands, and Errol looks down the inside to say, please just let me through. Please, mate, I just want this right now. But Metzger not making any obvious attempt to get out of the way right now. Like I said, maybe doesn't want Kulaga to catch up that much. We've seen how quick Eric can be and how good he is at overtaking other cars, but the top 3 in the class separated by 1.7 seconds. You've got to love to see it. John Botifer and Justin Rame close together as well in the pro category. We have 1.5 minutes to go though, and Dino Filippo is about 1/3 of the way around his current lap, so I reckon we may just get one more after this for Dino.
Yeah, I think we are maybe going to get one more lap. I feel like he should be able to finish this lap and have the white flag lap come out. So that could also play a factor in some of these drivers' fuel strategy. It all depends on where the leader crosses the finish line, not so much yourself. So you kind of have to have a safety factor, about one extra lap of fuel. So it'll be interesting to see which drivers have done that and which drivers haven't. But since we've looked to Dino in the lead right now, the gap from him to Elvis Rankin, 16.7 seconds, schooling the field today.
Yeah, it's been very, very impressive by Dino. Very impressive, especially as he bounced back from the issues earlier on in the race. He's had a real mountain to climb. He had contact with Michael Yanni on 2 different occasions, one more severe than the other. The car wasn't necessarily that badly damaged from it, but it's just the amount of time that he lost from that. But still, to come through, overtake everybody nice and cleanly, have a really good scrap for the lead, and then take it and disappear up the road has been incredible. He might just about get this with 1 lap to go. He's got 10 seconds left. And yes, indeed, he will cross the line. Does he have the fuel? Because, of course, 5 seconds worth of fuel was all he took. But he now has the overall race lead, and we've hit 1 hour and 15 minutes. Now, Casey Metzger is back in the lead. I say back in the lead, sorry. He never actually gave the lead away, did he? But still...
Sort of through the pit stop, yeah. Errol Urixoy, though, we saw him kind of cut down for the lead from about 3 seconds down to 1.5. It's kind of stabilized at about a half a second right now, still trying to chase down Casey Metzger.
And all the time, Eric Kulaga is closing in. We've got Daniel Fleury and Gary Brown side by side a little bit further back. If anything happens here, that's going to help Logan Vida, especially in the championship, go after Errol Urixoy. So we've got these 2 trios of cars together. Here's the first one of them. Metzger, Urixoy and Kulaga, and then behind them, Gary Brown, Daniel Fleury, Logan Vida. These AMs have been so entertaining this season. Absolutely love watching these guys race. It's always a little bit more unpredictable as well because, of course, they're, without any disrespect, they're at that sort of lower level of pace to some of the other guys at the top of the order. They've got sort of less consistency about them, but that's what makes them so entertaining. As Casey,
we see Metzger go wide there.
A massive bucket load of understeer there, and he had it coming out of the final corner as well. But look at this, Kulaga coming in this as well now. Let's hope, for Errol Urixoy's sake, I should say, that this stays clean, because this could get a bit nasty here.
Might go 3 wide as they head down into the corner. They are 3 wide. The 2 twisted racing cars on the inside. Errol tries to go around the outside, not really going to make it work. It's blocked by Casey right now. Errol still on the very right-hand side. He's going to have the advantage cutting into this corner, but he's going to have to lose some space. 3 wide contact between the 2 of Errol and Casey. Errol's going to go a bit wide.
Yeah, it was Eric, sorry, just into the back of Casey for a second there. Errol naturally loses out and ends up 3rd in this one.
Wow,
but
yeah, we saw him go a bit wide there. I don't know if he has a slowdown, but this is, of course, their final lap right now as we see Dino coming in, of course, to win the race, take the checkered flag here.
Absolutely incredible performance by Dino Filippo. What a win, Sunshine. You really deserve that one after that race. He certainly worked hard for it. Filippo takes the win here at Silverstone. Elvis Rankin is going to be in 2nd place. He's quite a bit further back, but he will take those championship points into the final round. The 2 of them are going to be separated by absolutely nil if they do that to the flag. As right behind
Garfield comes through Maggots and Beckett's. You see the 2 geodesic racing cars come across the stripe to finish in 3rd and 4th. Bodefer over Ream there. We see Yas Garfield is now coming down the back straightaway before they come into the last couple corners here. Jeremy Littleton a whopping 43 seconds back, so Yas doing a great job today, just like Dino did. Fantastic gap there.
Yeah, and Oscar Fias was tied with Tenorio for the championship. This is going to be literally the best result he could get here. He's going to take a race win in class. Wonderful stuff by Jos Garfias. Daniel Tenorio is going to lose a lot of points to him in that scenario. Now we do need to go back to this because Metzger still leads in the AMs, then it's Kulaga, then Errol Urixoy, but Logan Vida, after an incident between the 2 cars behind him, or what were ahead of him before, he's actually only 1 place behind Errol right now, so this is going to be incredibly close coming into the final round. 5 points between them. I think they're going to be tied on points.
I think you're right, Chaz. We see right now Errol goes down into the last corner following the 2 drivers in front of him in his class. Right now he's the last driver on the podium. See if he can make anything work here. Of course, Eric Kulaga does want to win this race as well, so we'll see if he chucks it up the inside here on Casey.
Oh,
Not
Eric!
gonna have anything there. Does go a bit defensive. We'll see if Errol can try to chop him off.
I don't think he's going to, but Eric went very late on the brakes there. Scary stuff in the final corner, but what a win that is for Casey Metzger. He'll be really chuffed with that one. Eric Kulaga second, Errol Uriksoy finishes third, and Logan Vida is actually, did he finish behind?
I think he's fifth. I think Dan Floria might have just bested him.
I think Floria crossed the line in the pit lane and beat him to it.
I think so, yeah. Looking at the results, I do see Floria is scored ahead of Vada, so
I
don't know if this is maybe an advantage. Yeah, I think he used it to his advantage here.
Oh, I don't know if I like that or not. That's very, very clever.
I don't like it in terms of sportsmanship, but
No.
I do like the ingenuity there to come away with the position. That's pretty smart.
That's what we'd call doing a Schumacher. In the 1998 British Grand Prix, Schumacher served a stop-go penalty on the final lap of the race, but crossed the start-finish line on the way into the pits. But that was very, very cheeky, it has to be said there. But still, what an absolutely awesome race we've had here at Silverstone in the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup of the United States. A hell of a lot of fun through this one, and we'll take a quick look at the results one class at a time. We'll start you off with our pro category. Dino Filippo, what a guy, what a race that was. Amazing stuff. He had everything thrown his way, takes the win. 16 seconds clear of Elvis Rankin, with John Boterford rounding out your podium. Justin Rame finished in 4th place. Jonathan Ouellette still consistent enough for some points, with Michael Yanni 8 laps down, Harry Wills 25 laps down come the flag. Next up though, Austin, our Pro-Ams.
Yeah, first across the start-finish line is Yas Garfia, swapping now 46 seconds over Jeremy Littleton, who comes home in P2. Steven Martinez rounds out your podium, followed by John D. Cooper in 4th. Daniel Tenorio comes home in 5th. Andrew Rasmussen finishes in 6th, with Dean Timms rounding out your 7-car field.
Thank you very much, mate. A very, very trying race, of course, for the Pro-Ams. Great battles throughout, though, in the AM category. Easily the most entertaining out there. Casey Metzger takes the win, less than a second ahead of Eric Kulaga. Errol Uriksoy just not able to do anything right at the end. Logan Vida is classified, though, ahead of Daniel Florea and Gary Brown, except the other way around, of course. Daniel Florea not getting that position due to his pit lane entry there, but like we said, we enjoyed the ingenuity behind that. Joseph Smith, Jason Bridges and Michael Kulaga 1 lap down, and Drew Neubauer, after a very trying race again, is bottom of the pile in 10th position. Now we'll have to see who we have in the way of interviewees, and to be honest, Austin, why don't you take it away with the one and only AM class winner, Casey Metzger.
Hey Casey, you got a copy?
Yes.
Hey, great job today, man. We saw you, obviously, you didn't quite have the pace there at the end to kind of hold on to the race victory on raw pace alone, but it kind of just worked out in your favor. We saw you kind of pit earlier. Was it kind of, your opportunity, you thought, to kind of just undercut the field, use that clean air to your advantage?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was trying to do. I was trying to undercut and try and put a little bit of weight back on the front of the car, hoping that would help it turn a little bit. Because, yeah, my left front, Silverstone is so hard on tires, but my left front was absolutely shot there for that last run. So I was trying to gain any little advantage that I could, just to, put a little bit of space between me and everybody else. So.
Yeah, we saw some great car control, the door-to-door action between you, yourself, your teammate, obviously, Errol, and then we saw Eric Kulaga kind of get back coming to the mix there, too. At that point, kind of saw you driving both defensively and offensively, trying to make sure you could hold on to the victory there. It looked like at one point you were going to come out of this in P3.
Yeah, and I was definitely sweating bullets there for the last couple of laps. Both of those guys are great. I know me and Eric have had our differences over the season, but he did a great job. Hats off to those two for keeping it clean but not making it easy. So that was fun.
For sure. Casey, is there anyone you want to thank for your run here today?
Just thanks to Dan Tenorio for the setup tonight, and looking forward to next week.
Certainly, that was Casey Metzger, your AM category winner. Chaz, I take your pick. Who you want to interview next?
Well, to be fair, the guys in fantastic sort of flying formation that we've got in the broadcast waiting room are the actual top 3 from the AM class. So, in true style, why don't we go next down with Eric Kulaga?
There we go. Finally able to drag him into the booth instead of just look at his profile. Eric, saw you do a fantastic job there to kind of make your way up through the field. What a fantastic finish there in a fight between you and the two Twisted Racing cars.
Yeah, it was at the beginning of the race. I logged in, I got in the grid, and I had no sound. I had to ditch out to go to the pits, so I had to do a pit start, and then whoever was at the lead of the pit start, they let the field go by like 10 seconds. I started 10 seconds behind everybody to come back up through the field. Everybody's tires fell off, and mine didn't as badly, I guess. And it was a yeah, dude. It was the best race of my life.
Certainly, well, you've seen some. We've seen you have some pretty good races before, but yeah, we were curious why you started in the pits. Obviously, so much of the sim is driving based on sound. Sometimes
Yeah.
you can hear the tires start to screech. You get that sense of speed just based on the RPMs you're pulling in these corners. Is that something you kind of had to worry about too? Is it just saving your tires? Did you try to manage those?
Once I got so far behind at the start, the goal was to just kind of run consistent, smooth, stay out of trouble. In the second stint, I was catching Logan and Gary were racing real hard, and they were holding it up a little bit. So I did an undercut. I pitted a few laps early just to get out of that mess. I came out of the pits and I couldn't believe it. Like Casey was only 5 seconds ahead of me. Arrow was only a few seconds ahead of me, and they just kept coming back and coming back and coming back, and I ran out of time. But we had a good scrap at the end. Penultimate lap, I had a shot, but I couldn't hold it on the outside. And that was about it. And then we just rode home, and I couldn't quite catch back up. So Casey ran clean, had a good race at the end, and just couldn't make that one last move.
Yeah, for certain. Well, once again, congratulations on the P2 here. Is there anyone you want to thank for your run today?
Oh man, everybody I raced against, Logan, Errol, Casey, everybody ran clean, today. It was smooth. It was a fun race. It was a real good race today. Having to try to catch back up and get through there was it was good. It was just fun today, man. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun today.
For sure. Well, once again, congratulations on your P2.
Thanks, man.
It was Eric Kulaga. Before we go ahead and bring on Errol Uriksoy in here, was P2 in the championship standings. Errol, talk us through that race, man.
I don't believe we can hear Errol, unfortunately.
Hey, there you go. Sorry, guys.
there we go.
Oh, there we go. We
Sorry
got
about that, guys. Forgot to press the button. What a race. Boy, I was lucky to get out of there with any tires on the car. I'm sure everybody else is probably saying the same thing, but whew, great race.
Yeah, very closely. So you entered this race, P2 in the championship standings, obviously racing against Logan Vada. For a while there, it looked like you might come away with the win in this race, and Logan would finish kind of in 6th place there, going to put you firmly into the lead in the championship standings, but we saw you finish, obviously, last up on the podium, but crucially, Logan would have had finished 5th on that last lap. So what does that kind of do for your championship momentum going into the next couple of races?
Oh, he brought it home 5th. I thought, that puts me actually up 5 points going into Bathurst next week, which is going to make it pretty spicy, I think.
Yeah, we saw you kind of catching your teammate there, Casey, in the last couple laps. Were you kind of licking your chops at that point? Do you feel like you saved tires, or is he just kind of saving fuel?
No, he was running a pretty good race. He was going at a pretty good clip, and I didn't really have the pace where I could say, hey, let me squeak by you. So we kind of just settled in. It was 3 of us. It was Casey, Dan, and myself. We settled in and just kind of trained around for a little while, and that was good for me because that saved me fuel. I knew I didn't need to win, and at that point, like you said, Logan was pretty far back. So I knew I just needed to finish a few spots ahead of him, and so I was happy to just kind of settle in that group and follow them around the track. And even towards the end, when tires started going off and everything, I was just content to just stay there. And in that last little dust up there, when Eric decided to come and spoil Casey and Mai's little party, I just had to let him go in that chicane right before the front straight because I just had too much to lose.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously thinking smarter there, big picture, more so than just one single race. You saw you go a bit wide there, obviously giving those two guys a wide berth just to make sure you didn't have any damage from them. We've seen the kind of damage that these cars can incur, obviously hurt the pace. But Errol, is there anyone you want to thank for your podium run here tonight?
Yeah, thanks to the team, to Casey and Dan letting me follow on their drafts. Thanks to the rest of the team. Say hi to my wife. Thanks for letting me run the race again, and thanks to Harry and the organizers and you guys. You guys are doing great broadcasts as we get down to this last round. I'm gonna miss listening to you guys every Tuesday.
Yeah, for sure. You guys certainly make it entertaining to commentate over and watch. So great job again. Obviously Bathurst next week. Good luck there, buddy.
All right, thanks guys. Have a great night.
Oh,
That
there
was
we
Errol
go.
Uriksoy, your P3 AM category driver. Chaz, take it away.
Well, not much more to be said than what an entertaining night of racing. Absolutely wonderful stuff to watch. Once again, a very, very dominant win in the pro category for Dino Filippa. An even more dominant win for Jos Garfias in the Pro-Ams. Another massive stamp towards the championship for him. Almost got this title wrapped up tonight. Casey Metzger takes the win in the AM class, but as you see by that slow-mo shot there, he didn't have it easy all the way through. Eric Kulager and Errol Uriksoy chased him right to the end. Errol, of course, taking the lead in the AM Championship. Only one more race meeting to go, of course, in a week's time. But that, for now, is all we have time for here on Absolute Sim Racing. Thank you very much once again, Austin. It's been an absolute pleasure. I look forward to the final round of the championship next time out. Thank you, everyone, for organising the series. Thank you to those, of course, in the racing itself. It was great to see them all again. And we hopefully will see you guys in a week's time at Bathurst. For now, it's been Austin Belkey and Chaz Draycott, Absolute Sim Racing and the Race Anywhere Porsche Cup of the US. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you at Bathurst.
When the night is over, my life is over. 'Cause I start thinking again about our time together.